Sure.
All right, and we're live. Hi, everyone. I'm James, and I brought Jackie onto the show today, and we are going to release some educational videos about our experiences in court. So I'm sure everyone wants to get some insight of what we're doing and what we're saying in court and what's happening with the judges and what they're saying. So this is a good opportunity for everyone to kind of just watch and learn from firsthand what's happening when we surrender the certificate. Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Jackie, and she's going to tell us her story.
Awesome. Thank you, James.
No
So yeah, James, as he said, my name's Jackie. I'm in Queensland, Australia, and I found myself in court. I should never have been there. Originally, to get to court, I was pulled over for having a missing number plate, which resulted in police assault in a backward country little town on my way to work on a Sunday at 9 a.m.
Not fair.
Absolutely not fair.
Yeah.
So that should never have happened, and I should never have had to go to court. But you deal with things as they come. I'm a strong believer in you only get what you're capable of handling. And sometimes we do have to step up for those that can't or won't step up.
Yep.
So, yeah. So,
round one. What happened? Give us the juicy bits.
Juicy bits, righto. So, I was probably a week before court. I got hold of the Dï5 stuff.
Yeah.
So not prepared as I should have. So I had to do a sneak attack. So a sneak attack, I'm walking in with my birth certificate, adverse claim, etc.
Have you posted anything in beforehand?
I had posted it, and you know, it's only just arrived last week.
Wow, so it's taken a few weeks to get there.
Yeah.
Interesting. And so you posted your adverse claim?
Yes.
And a affidavit to support it? Or
no, just the adverse claim.
And a plea
statement.
Yeah.
So yes, I was tracking that like crazy on Australia Post.
Yep. So I guess so everyone just be aware it took 4 weeks. That's crazy.
It was about 2.5 weeks.
Okay, sorry, 2.5 weeks. Yep. That's insane. So just be aware of that, guys.
Ridiculous. And it only had to go 2 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
So I did question driving it, but I didn't.
Oh.
So yeah, so definitely if you've got the time to put into this, get it in quick smart.
Yeah.
So what I did the morning of, before I left home, is I emailed the copy of my plea and abatement. And I really, just the abatement, not the birth certificate. And I really do believe that may have been a game changer for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I get to court. Firstly, they weren't going to let my support person in.
Okay. Because
of the C word.
Yep.
Too many people in. So we got past that.
How'd you get around that?
So the door person was refusing to let them in. So they called security. Security came over and said, oh, go to the registry. You might be able to get an application, but it probably will be denied.
Okay.
So we wandered over to...
And what were you saying they were in relation to you?
Them, just my support person.
Okay. Yep. Just a support. No problem.
Support person.
There are different ways people can get into court. One being support, another one being a witness, and another one being counsel. And you don't have to be a lawyer, but they're going to pull you up on that. You just need to know what to say, but we can get onto that later on. Sorry, you can keep going. Go ahead.
Super. Yeah. So we went to the registry, and she was quite nice and said, yes, if it gets too full, your support person will need to move out. So that's fine.
Yep.
And then we came back to the door person and we relayed the message, and he's like, oh, well, I need to speak with the security lady to make sure it's fine.
Yep.
So she came back and she tried to twist the story. And we said, hang on a minute, no, that's not right. We were told she can come in but must move out if it gets too full. So we got in. Then, and there was no notification or anything of not having enough room for other people at all. And the other thing I said, well, this is the government states on the door, they've got a government sign, Queensland government, that 26 people can be in that room.
Yeah.
And the security guard said, I said, do you think you're above the government? Well, in this building we are.
Yes.
And I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a struggle as soon as we walked in. So that's what I mentioned it before, like, don't walk into this process thinking it's a piece of cake. You need to fight tooth and nail for everything. And, I mean, that's fine. It gives you more character and strength, and because we're not doing anything wrong. We're getting what's rightfully ours.
Yep.
So
you're in the court. You're in the court. You walked in the room.
Yeah.
Is it like a small court? Let's paint a picture. It's a small court, you know, not like an intimidating one of the huge desks or huge, whatever they call it, bank at the back, and, you know, so it's like a small town court kind of thing?
No, it was quite a large court. It would have had 30 seats, and the magistrate was up high.
Oh, so, okay, so, yep, good. So everyone knows what you're walking into?
Yep, jury boxes either side.
Yep,
so
fantastic.
Quite a big one.
Yep.
And we just sat there, and all the represented people went first because I was by myself representing myself.
Okay.
Then they must have got too busy, and they said, everyone else stand up and tell me if you're going to plead not guilty, guilty, or adjourn. And I was a bit put back with that. I thought, well, what do I do here? But also, why do we all stand up and just shout it out? Like, that's not very private.
Yes.
Anyway, I sort of hung back to the back, and then I just said, I'm here for a plea and abatement. And the prosecutor sort of looked at me and goes, what's that for? I said, well, in a nutshell, I may need to speak with the magistrate in chambers. Mm-hmm. Just off the fly, I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So anyway, he's like,
that sounds
well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen.
Worth a shot,
anyway,
you know? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So then we all got shuffled outside so they could finish the represented people, and we were moved into a smaller court. It would have had probably 20 seats.
Yep.
And then they started alphabetical, and I'm like, oh dear, I'm up pretty soon.
Yeah.
So my first time, I walked up to, I don't know, it's the bar, the bench, whatever, and I've got manila folder with all my little sayings and things that I could run through in big font.
Yeah.
And then my yellow envelope. My whole, regardless of what I was there for, my whole mission was to get that to the front desk to the magistrate.
Yeah, absolutely. Get them in possession.
So that's it. So, of course, the first thing they want to know is who you are, what's your name.
Yeah.
And then...
Are you Mrs.?
Yep, that's it. Mm-hmm. And I just basically started reading the plea and abatement.
Yeah.
Or I'm here for the plea and abatement, things like that.
So and you kind of ignored what they said?
Yes.
Are you Mrs. Jackie?
Yep.
Go?
Yeah.
And you just said head down, started reading.
Absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
The first time I didn't make any eye contact whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because I was just shaking, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I had on my bits, and then I did a couple of things like that, and I was up there for 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. And they didn't want to hear it. So they just stand down, and then I kept rambling, and the prosecutor said, I think you should stand down.
So did the magistrate try to talk over top of you while you were talking? Yep. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. And you just blanked it and just kept reading.
Yep.
Yeah, guys, look, at the end of the day, we know they're going to try to talk over top of us because they're trying to move court the way they want to move their court. when you walk up there and you have a strong voice and you take control, they don't like it. So that they try to attack you. But if you stand your ground, if you're talking, you have the floor. If they jump in and interrupt, they're being dishonorable. Okay, so you did a good job. Amazing. Head down, just start reading. What can they do? Tell you, but you still get it on the record, hopefully. Okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. So then I'm like, well, I must go and sit down.
Yeah.
So I just sat down again, and then they pushed everyone else through. So there was probably about 12 or 13 of us.
Yeah.
So they pushed everyone else through. And then at the end, they brought me back up. Same sort of thing. Just read all what I had in my notes.
All the ones I've texted you as well?
Yep, all those. And I just said, I'm the protected purchaser. I've assigned the security interest. What grounds do you object to me?
Yes.
And I need to correct the record.
Yep.
Because I wouldn't confirm the name, what he was asking me, is that your name? He actually had the clerk of the court over the PA calling for me downstairs.
Calling the name.
Because she's not here in the room.
Yeah. So that's the magistrates asked you, are you Mrs. This? And you kind of blanked him again for the second time?
Yep.
Just started reading and you started getting your points across.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, and let's so this is obviously a mention. This is the very first appearance in court. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, when the judge did that, or the magistrate got the clerk to call my name over the PA, then I started getting worried. I'm like, man, I'm really in big trouble here. Yeah. But I just kept reading. Then he brought up the notice to appear, the whole reason I was in the court.
Yes.
And he's saying, did you receive this on this date? And then the first thing, because I've seen so much stuff, I just said, well, who is you? Amazing. And then he got cranky. Then he got really cranky.
Plural. You is plural, so you mean use, everyone. Yep. Yes.
You. Is that you or me, you? Or?
Yes. Yes.
So then he got cranky.
That one, I'd tell you right now.
No.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, just throw it all in there. So then, he got cranky, and then he's like, look, we're going to adjourn this, and if you don't identify yourself in the third round, we are going to have a warrant for your arrest. So we went out. I think we had 20 minutes. Yeah. So this time I'm disheartened. I'm thinking, I'm going to jail.
Yeah.
I'm ringing poor James. He's trying to help me.
What did I tell you?
I felt in your voice you were disheartened yourself, because you cannot tell me what to do.
That's right.
You can advise me.
Yeah.
But in the end, I'm the driver.
Yeah. It's up to you. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh God, here we go. Anyway, so I had a conversation with my friend, and she thought that maybe bringing up the notice to appear was like a lifeline.
Okay.
So, like, we talk about the public facade all the time.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so if I don't say that I got it, but the person did in third person, possibly maybe that's not creating joinder, because that's in the back of my mind the whole time.
Yeah.
Is it a trap?
Yeah.
So anyway, so we're waiting outside for the third round, and the prosecutor comes to the door to unlock the door, followed by two police officers, and they're pointing at me.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, here we go. Intimidation.
Yeah. Gang mentality. When they're scared, what do? They try to make you scared, so because fear controls. You walked back in for the last round, and they had their bodyguards, probably armed, ready to threaten you, to stand up against you on your back and really put pressure on you to get scared and concede. Basically, that's what they're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. But So we walk in there, heads held high, and we sit in the back of the courtroom because it is my friend, myself, these two cops, prosecutor, and we're waiting for the magistrate.
Yeah.
So he comes in and he's like, we're here for this matter again for Mrs. Blah, blah, blah. And anyway, I always paused. I thought if I just pause for a bit and then get up, I'm also saying I'm getting up in my terms.
Yes.
And then walked up. So again, put my yellow envelope down, open my manila folder with all my notes.
Yeah. Excuse me, I just need a couple minutes to get organized. Just everyone, just take 5.
Yeah, just ignore them.
Yeah, yeah.
So he starts again and he's like, oh, well, you must be such and such because you've appeared in front of me. And I just said something about, I'm the defendant in this matter and I'm here to represent the protected purchaser.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And when he came in, in round 2, I brought up the email about the plea and abatement that I sent that morning.
Okay, yep.
So now I'm in round 3 and he brought up the notice to appear straight away.
Okay.
And he's trying to pin that on me again.
Yep.
And I just said in third party, I said that person was presented with that and they are not trusting of authority because of the assault that was undertaken. And at that stage, I felt strong. And I looked around back to these cops and I just gave them a look saying, I'm here, I'm not scared of you. Yeah. You have no idea what I've been through.
Yeah.
So just sit there and listen.
Yeah.
So then I emphasised the assault on the person. And then again, every bit of the whole day, I'm trying to get that yellow envelope to the magistrate.
Yeah. All right. Maybe tell us about that. Your struggles getting your evidence submitted. Give us a bit of a quick one too of what you were trying to do and what was failing, basically.
Yeah. So every time I would stand under my plea, I would say, I have more evidence here, Your Honour. I need to get that to you. I learnt in the first courtroom, the lawyers will use the word tender. Can I tender these documents for your review?
Ooh, very nice.
So that was a nice little pointer I picked up.
Yeah.
And then he would go on to something else. So yeah, I would always direct him back to, I'm here for this plea and abatement. I have further evidence to provide you.
Yeah.
To support that plea.
Yeah.
So then, so every time he'd go off track, that's where I'd be coming back to that yellow envelope.
Yeah.
And I left it unsealed on purpose, thinking if I can get it to him, at least then he can open it and have a look quickly.
Yeah. And inside the envelope is your surrendered birth certificate?
Surrendered birth certificate and the original plea, yep.
With the plea and abatement, valuable consideration attached to the birth certificate, blurb written on of it, right. Ready to go. That's your trust agreement. Basically, correct. You want to get back into the hands of the new magistrate. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So then he said yes, and he waived the email,
which is the plea and abatement.
Which is the plea and abatement, and I really believe by bringing it up in the second one, he went out of his way and went to get the copy of the email, because everyone's documents were all piled and you just get the next one, blah, 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 pass it off. So he had it separately and he waived it.
So what you're saying is he didn't even look at your email on round 1 or round 2.
No.
Okay, so just remember that, guys, that when you send documents to the court, assume they're not going to read it. The only way it gets brought up and gives it life is if you read it out on the court and you put it on the record, or you demand, or you request that the magistrate opens it up, and he actually does. Okay, and then he acknowledges it, and then he says, or you say, can you please confirm that those documents are now inserted into the court record or something along those lines?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like the email that morning, I really think was a game changer for me.
Yep.
Because the other thing is they have the automatic confirmation of reply.
Yeah.
And I use that. I said, I can confirm you've received it.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean anything. Everyone has a
Yeah.
confirmed receipt. But to me, it was confirmed.
Yeah.
So then that made him go look for it. So then again, when he's waiting, and I said, yes, Your Honour, I have this extra additional evidence that I can tender to complement that. Anyway, so then before I passed it over, he wanted to know about my competency.
Interesting.
And I thought that was interesting. So he's like, what grade of school did you get up to? Have you done tertiary?
Ooh,
things like that.
Is he trying to find out if you're the age of majority? If you have a sound mind, if you're able to handle your financial affairs? I stated black and white after he was going down that path. I said, I've reached the age of majority. Yes.
I'm sound mind and I can absolutely take care of my own affairs.
Yeah, so you're just going, boom, and then uppercut him again.
Yeah. Now, why are you wasting my time?
Yeah, I know. It's like, what are you going to do? Like, write it on our face? You know? Like, just accept it. Stop denying it, you know? Pricks?
That's
it. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
So anyway, so we've got back to that, and then I said, and then I bring it back again to the plea, and again I have this evidence, and then he said, oh, is it just what I have here? Is it just the plea? And I said, no, Your Honour, I have further evidence to complement that plea. And then he just went, okay, send it up, or whatever he said. Yeah. And I'm like,
yes.
Anyway, so I straight away went right to the prosecutor, and she just sat back because she kept growling and rolling her eyes. She was like, this should have been done hours ago.
Yeah.
I'm a difficult customer for her.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the clerk comes walking down, and I couldn't reach far enough to pass it to him, and then it's like a baton. Holy dooly, out of my hand, see you later. Wow. So he came back and he sat down.
How was the heart at that point in time? It would have been like...
It was more the face. Yeah, it was more the face. I said, just poker face, and don't fist pump, don't do anything, just yes. Yeah. So anyway, passes it to the magistrate, and because I said I left it unsealed so he could just turn it over and pull it out, and I saw that the birth certificate was on top. Yeah. So again, poker face, cheering, and he's pulled out, slid it out, and he literally, like, I swear, the face dropped, the blood pressure just dropped. He sort of read it, and then he put it back in and shuffled it, and then passed it back to the clerk. Okay. And then he sat back in his chair. So I thought that was not normal for the day, because he's always up the front, rah. And he sat back in his chair, and then he said, oh, let's adjourn this for 4 weeks, shall we? And I'm like, winning? Yes. So I thought, well, while I'm on the winning side, let's just push these boundaries. I said, 1, I'm 2 hours away. Can we not move it to my local court? And he's like, no, because the offence was in this area, it has to be held here. I'm like, righto. What about...
The jurisdiction needs to stick in the area. Like, it's annoying. We should be able to move it, but the jurisdiction area, there may be something we can work on somehow to get that pulled out, because they can move jurisdiction. I know they can, but they tell you that it can only happen if you plead guilty. Yeah. If you plead guilty, okay, yeah, we'll move it to a closer area for you because they already won, right? But if you plead not guilty, it sticks there. So there's got to be something that we can find out and work with that, because amazing. Because if you're 2 hours away, you want to get in a local town, you know? Of course. So we'll go down that path and see what we can find.
Yeah, awesome. So then I thought, well, Wednesdays don't suit me, and that seems to be the only day they keep offering me. And I said, look, can we do another day but Wednesday?
Yeah.
And he's like, sure. And it's like he pulls out his diary.
Yeah.
And he's like, what about Thursday? I'm like, Thursday's fine. So he pencils me in for Thursday.
Yeah.
And then he sat back in his chair again and he said, I think what you've provided here, we should be able to contest those offences or charges. And I said, I didn't say it to him, but none of that was ever done the whole day I was there. I was there for over 6 hours. It was adjourned, not guilty or guilty. And I thought, well, that must be a good thing if I can contest it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so, and then because round 2, he threatened the warrant for arrest, the prosecutor then stood up and said, oh, are we keeping the warrant for arrest on the file? And 1, it was only a mention,
yep.
But 2, the judge just shot her down and said there is no warrant, and she sat back in her box.
Ooh.
So I'm like, oh, thank Christ.
So the judge came to your aid, sort of, for that at one point in time when he opened up that blank envelope, which you had your plea and abatement, and you had your adverse claim with the valuable consideration tucked in there nicely. He opened it up, his face went blank, and then he basically sat back and said, okay, she knows what he's doing, what she's doing.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing right now. So my only option is to give her the option to adjourn it, because you got to accept the adjournment. You know that, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so finish up.
So then he did say I had to go downstairs and sign bail.
Yes.
Or I'd have a warrant for my arrest again. And literally, because you're in those courthouses, they will not let you leave. You're arrested in the building.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, and I'm thinking, I've had such a win. Let's just do the bail and get out of there.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, mate, that's probably got me back in the system again. But I've since sorted that paperwork out and sent that back to them as well.
So after the judge said, yes, can we adjourn this for 4 weeks? You said, yeah, I'd make it on the Wednesday or Thursday because my day off. Yeah. But then the judge gave you conditions and he said, yes, go downstairs and sign a piece of paper. Alarm bells should have been going ding, 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 ding. You know, the flags have been flying going, no, don't do it. But yeah, your heart's going in it, I know, and you just want to get out of there. You just want to leave that dungeon, you know? You just want to get that energy. It just sucks you, sucks the life out of you. Yeah. So you ended up signing a bail form, which absolutely made you join to the capital letter name. Absolutely did, you know?
Yeah. So what I did is, like, I did sign it with the 3 dots in front. I've heard that's under duress or something, and I just signed my first and middle name.
Yes.
So then I thought, well, and the conditions were just that I would come back on that date.
Yeah.
So
come
it
back
wasn't
on that
anything
day, but the conditions you may join into that name. So the process that you did to alleviate that, as you said, monkey on your back, monkey on your shoulder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Monkey on my back.
Monkey on your back. Yeah. You've come up with with some help from Darren and with some guidance to what to write on the bail form, I guess.
The bail form.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we can talk about that. And if you want to elaborate on that a bit, you don't have to go into too much detail, but just the general gist of it.
Yeah. So I think from my understanding is basically because I've presented or gotten rid of the birth certificate, I'm now a grantee, I think the word is.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So as the grantee, I'm issuing the bail back to the grantor.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a nutshell.
Yeah.
And then I've posted it back to the court.
Absolutely. So it's actually the same, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the same thing we're doing with the birth certificate, basically.
Pretty much.
You know?
Yeah.
You just you take control of it as grantee and say, yeah, no problem. Basically accept it as value, I guess, is or whatever it is, accept it, and then flip it around and reassign it and shove it back in their face, basically. So it's the exact same process as the birth certificate. Okay, you assign it back to the successor in interest, or the clerk of the court, or whoever you want. You know, just get it out of your hands and put it back. But you do it in a way that you've accepted and taken control and shoved it back in their face. Have they responded at all to that?
No.
So
not.
And the other mention is coming up fairly soon, is it not?
Yes, the 8th, so next Thursday.
So next Thursday. Ooh, that's just under a week away.
Yeah, with Easter in the middle.
With Easter in the middle, yeah. How are you feeling coming up to that one?
Well, I was hoping that I wouldn't have to go. It'd be all wiped, but
yeah. Well,
I don't know.
There's a couple of things that I would like to talk to you about, and we'll just do it super quick because I don't want to keep this too long. So the judge is giving you a grace period, basically. Okay, so in my opinion, and guys, it's just educational stuff here. Okay, don't take it as face value, but just we got firsthand experience, and we're sharing opinions and ideas, basically. So if the judge gives you 4 weeks, that's amazing. You know, you actually that's a grace period. So if the judge goes, do you want to plead not guilty, or do you want to just adjourn it so you can sort yourself out or whatever? You get the adjournment because the court hasn't moved, and then you get 4 more weeks to get more prepared and ready to go. And hopefully by that time we get more documents and we can file stuff in the right places and have more standing in their system instead of just saying not plain abatement, basically. And so moving from that, the magistrate, the court hasn't moved. So when you go back in the court, it's the same situation, but where is the birth certificate? Where is the adverse claim?
Yeah, the two of them.
They have possession. So there's been a massive learning curve on my end, and I'm sure everyone else's, but realizing that there's equity in the court. When there's equity in a court must compel, well, they should recognize the equity. But the only way they do it is if you know why they should and the acts and the laws they have to follow. So I'll talk about one, which is going to directly to you because you're in Queensland, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the act, the Judicature Act. Judicature Act. Yeah. 1876.
Yeah.
Okay. You got to look that up.
Yeah.
It's super important because what it tells the court. And this is their acts and their laws, and they have to follow them. And it's in Queensland, and there's ones for New South Wales. I'm sure there's ones for the rest of it, WA, whatever. So what it says is that if there's a conflict between the rules of equity and the rules of common law, that equity prevails. Okay, there's more to it, and there's more to read up on it, but that's the gist of it. So when we go back into court, we need to be a little bit more prepared with the legislation we got to cite and the acts that binds them to it. Okay, so I'll happily share with you and get it across to you, and you get your head around it. But good job. Any tips that you could, that you're trying to wish you wouldn't have done, or besides the signing of the bail form? Anything else that you want to share that, after the reflection on how you could have improved or not?
No, not really. I really felt that the notice to appear conversation was trying to drag me back in.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought if I speak in third person, I'm not saying that's me, but I'm acknowledging that that person was presented with that, so I have some knowledge of it.
Yeah.
But again, it was short and sweet. I think that's the biggest thing, short and sweet, because otherwise you'll just dig yourself too deep and then come back to your plea.
Yeah, yeah. Circle back, because the only thing that court's trying to do, they have one job. When you go in for a plea or whatever, an appearance or whatever they call it, a mention, they need to enter you into the system so they can move on to the next box. And then that's the hearing. And then from that box, they got to find you guilty. And then from that box, they lay a charge. But if you don't let them move from box 1, they can't go to box 2. It's that simple. Well, in my opinion, it's that simple. If they can't move on and you don't give them the opportunity to, we're winning. Okay?
We're winning.
And you did an amazing job. A couple weeks experience, never been in the court before, you know. None of us have, and that's the thing. Well, some of us have, but a lot of us haven't, and it's daunting and it's scary. But you know what? We're doing it, and we're killing it, you know. And we're throwing those hooks, and we're dropping those kicks, and we're just getting rid of them. So amazing! Look up Queensland Judicature Act 1876. It's gonna blow your mind. And congratulations, and we'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, James.
No worries. See ya. Bye.